advocate. What's going on, family? How is everybody doing? How is everybody doing? We got a lot to talk about. Get your libations, get your chamomile tea, get your hot cocoa. If you work overnight, get your coffee, get whatever you need to have the conversation that we have, family. Please get whatever you need. Do whatever you need to do. We all have to do whatever we need to do to have whatever conversation that we need to have. So, please, let's take care of business as we always do. Please hit that like button if you have not hit that like button already. Please subscribe if you are new to the channel. Hit that subscribe for me. Hey, everybody in the chat, what's going on? Please also hit that bell. If you have not hit that bell, please hit that bell for me so that you get notified when we go online and we hear, and you don't have to go through a lot. If you don't know, on the 21st of this month, we will be reading American Slavery. We will be having a book club after you've already read American Slavery, American Freedom. So if you don't already know that, if you haven't picked up the book or whatever, just know that on the 21st of March, we'll have Monday and Wednesday show. We'll have a Thursday show as well. So please be aware of that, and please show up. For those of you who do not know, October 4th and 5th, 2019, we will have our first ADOS. We will have our inaugural conference. For those who do not know, The link for that, if you go to Tone Talks Twitter or if you go to my Twitter account, pinned to the top is a post with the Eventbrite link where you can purchase tickets. Also, please go to ados101.com where you can get a look at our agenda. Also, you can go to patreon.com/ycarnell. You can go to donatebrown.com to donate to the channel. And please, 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 also, please share it. Please have the conversations. The way that all of this has spread is because you all, not just me and Antonio, you all are spreading the conversation and disseminating the information. And that's what has to happen. So we have to talk about something else now that we get down to it. I can't play the clip. But for those of you who don't know, for those of you who have been busy today and you do not know, Bernie Sanders had an appearance at the Breakfast Club. And he was asked specifically about reparations. And first of all, reparations is not a cash payment. So I was kind of disappointed in the way the question was asked. That's kind of a conservative way to ask that question. That is usually that's usually how Republicans neutralize the reparations conversation, by calling it a cash payment, making it look like a lottery as opposed to a debt and what it's really supposed to be, because it's not just a cash payment. We have to talk about the fact that it has to include production. It has to include ownership. Because one of the things people ask me all the time is, how do you if people get reparations tomorrow, Yvette, they just gonna blow it. If people get reparations tomorrow, everybody just gonna blow the money. And what I tell people is, one of the ways that you deal with that, you have to find a way to make reparations about not just, reparations can't just be about a way to make us into better consumers. We have to use reparations. There has to be a mechanism that makes us also into producers and owners, because we were producers, we have been owners. When you look at the history of stolen land and stolen property and the farmers recently got, I've been trying to find time to do a show about that, about the seeds, and they couldn't get USDA loans because you have to have capital to have capitalism. One of the things that's happened is that we've been taken off the board. So it's not just about a cash payment. It's also about making us owners and producers. That's what making us whole means. It means we have a class structure. We're owners and producers too. So let me just put that out there in terms of how I understand and how I project and present reparations, right? And I also want to put something else out there, just to because we're going to talk about not only Bernie, we're going to talk about all these little plots that are being hatched to kind of undermine what we're doing here and what you're probably going to see coming soon. We're going to talk about a lot of stuff because a lot has been going on, and there's a lot of mischief. There's a lot of mischief and plan making and all that stuff. So we're going to talk about it, but let's go back to Bernie. One of the things that we have to understand when we talk about the reparations conversation, or when we talk about black politics, and I want to make this very clear, because this is one of the criticisms that we get a lot. Well, y'all just gonna make the bar so high, ain't nobody come out and vote. Our goal, ADOS, Breaking Brown, Tone Talks, our goal is not to suppress the ADOS vote. Thank you, fam, for the $50. I appreciate it. Our vote is not to suppress the ADOS vote or the black vote in general. Even when we talk to, I shared a post with all the black immigrant allies who was like, I don't understand why this is so complicated. Our agenda is not to suppress the black vote. Our agenda is to influence the black vote. Our agenda is to influence the black vote in such a way that we leverage our voting block to get something that we actually need. We leverage our voting block to get our specific needs met based on a specific agenda. That is our goal. So all of this other stuff is nonsense. As we talk about Bernie, let's throw all that away. We want to influence. Everybody has an agenda. We do not want symbolism. We want substance, and we want specific substance. So on that mark, talking to Bernie, And Bernie tells Charlemagne the God, Leonard, he will always be to me, but tells Charlemagne the God, and Charlemagne asked him to his credit, he said, well, you know, I think black people need something specific because we suffer specific harm. You all know that I've said that for quite some time. So Bernie comes back with this kind of canned answer of universalism in the place of specificity. He comes back with, no. We're going to deal with mass incarceration. We're going to deal with everything. We're going to deal with everything, and we're going to fix everything. And it's almost like he feels that all you have to do in terms of us is to just hit the reset button. We're going to reset everything. We're going to start from now. We're going to start from ground zero. We're going to start from right here and do the right thing going forward. That only works if slavery didn't happen. If slavery and all of the accrued disadvantage didn't happen, then you can do it. See, we are here not just because we haven't had opportunity. You have to understand that why we're here, we're not here as ADOS, descendants of chattel slaves and everything that came after. We're not here because we just don't have opportunity. We're here because we are created to eat the failure in this country. And what we're trying to do in terms of this movement that we're doing, we're trying to shift ADOS from an exploitation class to an ownership and production class that is transformational. Hold on to that. We don't want to be an exploitation class anymore. We want to be a production class and an ownership class. And based on our contribution, that is not about a handout. That is about a debt that is owed. That is about a debt that is owed because of our contribution in terms of our ancestors and then the accrued disadvantage that came after that. So when I look at Bernie, one of the things that I think is that you do not understand. And I see that from a lot of these candidates. I don't care black and white. You do not understand race in America and what race was made to mean for us. You have not grappled with that original American sin. You have not grappled with that in your own time and space. And the only thing that I can think is that you have thought that we are not important enough as a group to actually be grappled with, to actually be understood, to actually be recompensed, to actually be made whole. Now listen, shout out right now to the campaign workers who are trying to make this different. I know there are black campaign workers on every campaign. I saw Nina Turner on CNN really trying to make the case that this isn't just about Trump. This is about racism. This is about black people, and black people are fed up. I saw her making that case. So I see campaign workers out here in a lot of different spaces trying to get the person that they work for to come around. But in the end, Bernie got to do that. From Vermont, white Bernie got to do that. In the end, he has to understand race and not be so dismissive of race. He has to do the work. Nobody can do the work for him. And so what I will say is this. We have to sometimes, and I have to do a better job of understanding the necessity of this. We have to kind of recap a little bit. Because I was online today and I saw a whole lot of, well, people get arrested because they poor. People don't get arrested just because they black. It's because poverty is the number one, and this kind of race erasure. And you see it on the right and you also see it on the left. This is an American problem. And so the first thing I want people to understand is that Bernie doesn't misunderstand reparations. Like he's key. He's key. He supported the reparations plan for the railroads, for the Jewish people. And salute y'all. Get your reparations. Do what you got to do. So it's kind of interesting to me that you can support that. But when it comes to us, you don't even really want to have that discussion. You just want to be like, we're going to go back to zero. We're just going to start over. But I want to show, and bear with me if you all have been here or whatever, but we got to do, we at Politics 102, but we got to do a little bit for the people who just came here and the slow people in the gallery. We got to do a little bit of work to show people where we are, and not where we are as America, as like just a class of Americans, but where we are as ADOS people, and how failure is baked into our group. We have to do that. So let's just start here. The state of black wealth by percentage. Bottom 50% of black households are worth less than $1. Less than a... Understand what that means. I want you to hold on to that. Hold your hats, because we're moving, we're moving, we're moving. I want you to look at that chart, though, and really understand what that chart means. Bottom 50% of black households worth less than $1. Right? Now, this isn't the same. Understand something. Understand me when I tell you this, because what you always hear, let me find this. But what you keep hearing from people is that, and I've used this chart, but let's just show it again, because people will say, no, well, Yvette, I'm sure that that's the same for everybody. That's just poverty in America, and we just got to fix poverty, as if slavery didn't happen, and we don't have a specific kind of poverty that doesn't exist amongst white people. So let me just show you this chart. We'll just bring this chart up again. And this chart shows concentrated racial disparities. This is from the Washington Post. We've showed this. You know, this is concentrated poverty, racial disparities and concentrated poverty. Now, if you go, you see blacks in the purple. Now go to New York. I want you to, as we go down, I want you to see how far that black is purple. Go all the way down. And you'll see what we've been saying the whole time. This is not just concentrated poverty. White people in this country have nearly all the wealth. And people will say, well, there are white poor people. Yes, but they have a regular, normal class structure. In any society where there's a class structure, there are poor people. But they have nearly all the wealth in this country. And you can tie that all the way back to slavery. Us being flat economically goes all the way back to slavery. Look at that red line. I mean, again, look at that purple line and look at that green line. That purple is us, concentrated poverty. When you see this reflected through all the cities, what that should tell you, when you see that reflected through all the cities, that tells you that this is not a phenomenon. And this is the work that Antonio and I have done, which separates us from other reparations movements. This is not a function of something that this is not a function of something that we have done. And we've used Darity's study to show you this is not about we don't want to do business. This is not about we don't save. This is not a function of any of that. Right? That's what we have to understand. This is what we've shown. Let me pull it down a little bit more. This is a function. When you see these numbers reflected in every city, this is a function of a systemic failure and an intentional failure of Black America by the people who set this up. We were decided other people can come here and access whiteness in a very real way. What has been decided about us here is that we will not be able to access it. Right? That is what has happened. We won't be able to access it. So, you know, let me just finish the chart up. You see the same thing, and you see it in Denver, you see it in Oakland. That's what we're looking at. That's what we're facing. Understand that this is not about when you see that same chart, when you see throughout, and you see white people have nearly all the wealth, you can trace that back to land theft. You can trace that back to slavery. You can trace that back to convict leasing. And there are no universal problems that are going to solve that. Now, I saw somebody, they said, well, some universal programs do lessen the racial wealth gap. Let me make an example to you. You know, Antonio and I were talking about it on the phone. And this is like an example of that is like if somebody told me, well, you know what, Yvette? You know, I know that I owe you all this money. I give you that. But I'm going to give all the money to everybody. I'm going to give all the money to everybody. And I'm not going to give you that money. But you're a homeless person now. But I'm going to let you come into the shelter. And so your life is better. But you still don't have what you deserve. Like your life is better. But you still don't have what you need. You still don't have what you're owed. So how is your life that much better? That's something that we don't want to talk about. How is your life that much better if you take what's owed me and my people and you agree that it's owed? You agree that there's a debt that is owed, but you're going to take the money that should have been given for reparations a long time ago and the protection, because you have to protect us from these predators. It doesn't work if you don't protect us. You're going to take that and spread it around to everybody? So everybody gets all the goods, taking all this money and spreading it around, and you're going to sprinkle a little Medicare for all on me. And you're gonna sprinkle a little jobs guarantee on me, and the same, and the white person who doesn't have slavery in their background, or convict leasing, or mass incarceration, the white person who doesn't have that racialized injustice and oppression in their background is gonna get the same thing as me. So wait a minute, and understand something as we go on. Understand something. What you have to understand is that America's too far gone. And what do I mean when I say it's too far gone? America's a racialized country. Ain't nothing you can do about that right now. It's a lot of work to try to do something about that right now. And I don't know if mainstream America is prepared to do that work. So what will happen even if we have a jobs guarantee? It's racialized. And what do I mean? Well, a jobs guarantee, some jobs might be at the top, some jobs might be at the bottom. So you'll have a job, maybe making $20,000 a year cleaning up dog poop at the dog park. It's a job. It still doesn't allow you to live an American life. It still doesn't give you make up for the debt that you're owed. It doesn't do any of that. And the white person who doesn't have any of that in their background is cleaning up poop beside you, or they have a better job than you. How is that reparations? That is not something that makes us whole. You need something. You need something. When you talk about making us whole, and thanks to the person who made this, you need something that does that. And all of these talking heads aren't doing that. See, when you talk about doing that, that makes people get upset. The people are not your friends. You might not be on CNN no more. You might not get those interviews. I saw Roland Martin before the show. Somebody play, "Oh, y'all just talking around talking. You should come out here and be with the black people like me. I'm roly-poly." And it's just like, how are you around that many ordinary black people, and you still in 2010, 2012, and 2015 didn't understand the need for reparation? You're just spinning your wheels. You might as well be walking in circles. I'm walking in circles. I'm walking in circles. I'm walking. Because you're not doing anything that we have done specifically to make this case. Understand how we housed all this. We housed all this in data. We housed all this in differentiating us from other groups. We housed all of this in understanding historic income equality. We housed all this in understanding timing and how timing matters. And we're locked out because we were not around during the time when wealth was being built. We were very specific. You've been running around so much that you can't understand and put together a cogent argument. You've been catching midnight flights. Get a nap. Do something. Like, understand what you have been doing has not been working in terms of helping people to understand this. The reason that we have this push right now is because people, ADOS, saw the data and said, you're right. And even I didn't have the data in a few years ago. And I supported the alternative to Hillary in 2000 in the last election, because I didn't want Hillary in there, super predators and all that stuff, so I supported Bernie in the primary. But understand something, when you see the data and you see the cataclysmic turn, you understand that our need is urgent. I don't know how you've been on TV or running around on YouTube and you can't make that cogent case. Look, I mean, let's again, this is 2016. Look at our poverty rate. Everybody wants to know white people are poor too. You just don't understand. I understand just fine. I understand just fine. And I understand what that number means. I understand what that number means. I understand that number means that the failure is baked into my group. And I understand when Bernie says he's not in favor of reparations, that he wants to just flatten that out and he don't want to make me whole. And we'll still be the bottom group even with a jobs guarantee. Everybody else will have the good jobs and we'll still have the low jobs. And that's all you're going to get, because understand there's only so much money. So what you going to do? There's only so much money. So everybody, you want to pass around all this money. You want to pass around all this money, but you don't want to give me. Like, it's you already over 400 years late on this debt. This is a really late bill, and you still don't want to pay this bill. You just want to spread my money around to everybody. You get a car, you get a car, you get a jobs guarantee, you get universal basic income, you get Medicare for all. Fix me. I got a whole group here that's handing, let me show you. I got a whole group of people right here who are not going to make it because of something that we didn't do and a debt that is owed that America refuses to pay. African Americans are worse off now than they were in 2000. And we're the only group. That, I can trace that all the way back to slavery. That is nothing new. That is nothing different. Nothing new, nothing different. And I'm going to tell you something. And we're going to get to it in a minute in specificity after we get done with Bernie. But we got a lot of people out here, and it's not just these people. These people are some of them, but we got a lot of people out here, instead of jumping on board and saying, how can I help? What can I do? Angela Ryden will calling us bots. Steve Harvey talks all that stuff. Steve Harvey, you was with Trump and you didn't even have nothing to say. You just showed up when everybody said, why are you there? You're not the HBCUs. You're not anybody of importance. Where you there? Well, somebody told me come. I just come out. I show up in my suit. I look good, don't I? I look all right. If you don't go home, you don't even know what you was doing. You just show up. These people are just scavengers. And we have a lot of other people who have committed themselves to just like, well, if I'm not leading it, I don't want to be a part of it. Listen, our door has always been open. The only thing that we said is that you can't come in here and turn over the tables and snatch the microphones and kick over the sofa. No, we're not doing that. If we're going to be a group, we're going to be a harmonious group. We're not going to be a group with you acting a fool. We're not doing that. We have laid a pathway. You are free to get on board, but we are not doing this stuff where you get to come over here and talk about what happened to you in the summer of 72. We don't care. This is about timing. You have to understand the timing of this. And I need you all who are criticizing, I need some of you all to start doing some intellectual work. Don't just run around and I'll bring that up later. But let's just go through the data. Understand that this data, when you see median wealth of black Americans will fall to zero by 2053, what that tells you is that we're an exploitation group. You don't get to that kind of bottom. You don't get to that kind of bottom without being an exploitation group. That means that you're here to be exploited. That means that is the job. We're going to put all the failure. We're going to put all the nuclear plants. We're going to put all the liquor stores. You know what else we're going to do? We're going to redline you. We're going to make it to where the government won't even subsidize mortgages in your community because black people are a contagion, like Antonio said. They made us into a contagion, like a disease, like a bacteria, where we destroy wealth just by being around. But you don't want to make that whole, Bernie? You don't want to make that right? Well, I'm going to sprinkle a little Medicare for all on you. So, it's kind of like, that's kind of like, the only way I could describe it, as I think about it, and this isn't even right, because what you have to understand is that, Antonio changed the analogy and it was perfect, because people have always talked about like this race as a race where we started last and so everybody got a head start. And that's not really what happened. What really happened is that we were the shoes that white people ran on to get wealthy. And now they're ready to throw away the shoes. And I'm telling you, you can't, we're people. You can't do that. And we need to be made whole in a very complex way. That's more than a check. You made our community, understand I've said this and you can read it. When affirmative action, people always ask me, what's the first book you should read? When affirmative action was white. If I have a choice, the first book you read, if you're just coming onto my channel, read When Affirmative Action Was White. And if you are not seething by the time you finish that book and you really understand what race is in this country, then I don't know what to tell you. Redlining wasn't just about whether or not it's a good community or a bad community. It wasn't about that at all. You could have a white community where they were chasing each other with bottles and switchblades. It did not matter. It could be a white ghetto. They got mortgages. Our teachers and professionals who were trying to get a good life didn't. Understand that so much of the wealth in this country is built by homes. So if you don't get a mortgage, what you got was predatory lending. They could kick you out anytime. Or you built up your own kind of little dilapidated houses because we didn't have money to build up real nice houses. And white people are now using these homes as ATMs, taking out equity, doing all kind of stuff for their kids and stuff like that. That's what happened. Whether you go to the Homestead Act, whether you look at how they made wealth, whether you look at redlining, they have wealth that we don't have specifically because of race. And what I have called for is for us to be made whole. You have to make us whole because we got taken off the board because timing matters. Ain't nobody, listen, America now is a developed country. You know what it means when you got a developed country? It's finished. Ain't no more railroads to build. Ain't no more humongous skyscrapers to build. You ain't gonna be Trump. That's how Trump's daddy made all his money, building stuff for the government. There's no more big building. And when you talk to these entrepreneurs, be globally, they'll tell you, yeah, nobody's really looking to make that kind of money in America or the first world, except in tech and a lot of other places. But nobody's looking like they're looking to emerging markets. Why do you think that's what the Clinton Global Initiative did? That's where they're making money out. You're locked out now. You lost it. Everybody, you know how people are getting money now? Let me put it up. Hold on one second. And let's just show how people are getting their money now. Money ain't the way money used to be. People aren't getting money the way they used to get money. One of the things we have to understand about life is that it's not static. Look at this chart. You have to understand that life is not static. Now, let me just bring this up just a little bit. I bring this chart up often because it's important. I mean, read what it says first. Hold on, let me bring this down a little bit. Combined from 2010 to 2012, Black households within the same reference period reported average pre-tax income of $45,000. The distribution of black household pre-tax income is skewed. Most households sampled are on the lower end of the income continuum. In fact, more than 35% of black households pre-tax income falls between $12,000 and $37,000. That's a household. That's no money. That means you can't afford to be here. That's what that means. If that's what your earning looks like, we can't afford to be American. People out here dropping money because America is expensive. You know, last year I was telling everybody about a crown, and I was kind of joking and playing around about it, but I wasn't. Like in a country where they charge you like $1,500 to for a crown in your mouth. Like, I don't understand what everybody thinks that we're doing. That's just the price. And you know, it used to be a time. There really used to be a time where you could do stuff and you could play around with you could wait on a tax return, or you could play around with the money and do all kind of stuff. And let me just bring the chart back up one more time, because I showed you that part, but I want to show you the chart. But there used to be a time when you could just play with the money and do all kind of stuff, and there were like little poverty, like little things people could do. The Trump's tax plan changed all that. So now you got to have the money. You know, the Bureau of Labor created this chart. This is a government chart. We live entirely on earning with no inheritance. That's our life. We living on, like, labor has understand that when you look at all the charts, labor don't got no money no more. Labor, you're not getting money through working anymore. You're getting money through inheritance. So we inherited the slavery. We inherited the failure. We inherited the sharecropping. We didn't inherit nothing. We inherited negative. That's what we inherited. And the money, the people who are having the money and getting the money, you don't get money through labor anymore. So people say, oh, it's so much worse in Mexico. Antonio done told y'all in Mexico he got a crown for $330. My crown, they told me it's going to be $1,500. Right? So You have to have money in America. You don't have to, if you get a job guarantee and it's 25K, that's still not what you need to be American. And then it allows the elite people to just close the book on you and say, see, we did something for the Negroes and we did something for everybody, so let's move on. Because a lot of times in politics, fam, you just get that one shot. You don't get 2, 3, 4, 5 shots. You get that one shot. And if you're going to take one shot, you better make it count. You better advocate for something that not only gives you $20,000, or that the same 20 that everybody else gets, or probably more because everything is racialized. You better advocate for a change. Hear me. Hear me. You better advocate for a change in positionality on this American hierarchy. There's no way in the world that we built this country with free labor. We were worth more than all the railroads. Find the David Black quote. I've showed it 1,000 times. Factories, all that. And we on the bottom. There is no way that that should be acceptable. There is no way that should not be a priority on our agenda. Especially since we're locked in and locked out now. Ain't no money being made in America like that no more. We needed to not have Black Wall Street burned down. We needed people to protect us and our interests and our wealth. I was reading the other article about how our ideas were stolen. So we invented something and white people could just snatch it and take it. We didn't have our intellectual property protected. So you have to do a calculation of what that theft looks like. Ain't it something when your own country steals from you? What is that number? And I want that money. I want that money. I want that opportunity. I want the land. I want the production power. I want everything that comes with it. And I am not asking for anything unreasonable. There is a very real debt. And if you don't understand that debt, you don't understand race in America, and you don't care about what happens to American descendants of slavery. You do not care. And if you do not care, you need to start caring. Because we are not going to stand for this anymore. We got plenty of time. Y'all got plenty of time to figure this out. We're not going to the election tomorrow. You got plenty of time to get with your people and figure this out. But gone are the days where we just be like, well, we just got to get what we can. We know that they ain't right, but we got to get what we can get. No, this is what our life looks like. And the other chart, we were talking about incomes. Like, we don't have no wealth. Like, understand that, like, this whole, we don't have anything. We can't afford to be here. And we haven't made this a national conversation until ADOS. How? Because nobody else really understood the data. We're competing against people who can use people who have American money, and they have this, and they have everything that comes back from their daddy being a farmer. Your daddy got pushed off his land. He couldn't get no USDA loan. They took his land. They still targeting farmers. Look at the Guardian article I put up. They still targeting black farmers. You got these other people who can use their farm, their land, making millions of dollars. We could have had that, and they locked us out. So what is the cost of locking us out multi-generationally? You have to ask yourself that. You have to also ask yourself, what is the cost of this instability that we're dealing with? Because in order, let me put this up. Understand something. As we have this conversation, I want you all to remember, you see this incarceration chart, and I'm gonna put it back up, so don't worry about the top that's missing at the very top. But this is from the Atlantic. As we talk about incarceration, I want you to understand this. I want you to understand this. Escaping poverty requires almost 20 years with nothing going wrong. Escaping poverty, that's what it means. So you're talking about nothing going wrong. You're talking about nothing going wrong, right? Now, understand something. Understand something. I want you to understand one thing. When we talk about mass incarceration, when we talk about how many black men are in jail, more than anyone on the planet, right? when we talk about that, one of the things that you have to understand, when you look at the numbers of black people, especially black men, more black men than women across in the world. When you look at that, that is intentional. Now I want you to connect the dots here. I want you to connect these dots. When I say that study, and that article is based on a study. So go look the article up. It's based on a study. So you have to have nothing go wrong in your life. And that article basically said there are two Americas now. Because we have this super elite that everybody talks about, but you also have the people that service that super elite. That's all of it. So when I talk about nothing going wrong, what they did in mass incarceration, was make sure that stuff went wrong in your life. I don't care whether we talking about imprisonment, black men, high school dropouts under 35. Look at that, what it is. Look at how it got worse by 2019. They are intentionally sabotaging black families to make sure that they are unstable and something goes wrong. And if something goes wrong and you're unstable, you cannot make it into any kind of wealth building scenario. That is an intentional, socially engineered, destabilizing technique. That is intentional. There is no other way to put it. And people who tell you, we just know we got to look at this thing. We got to look at this thing in terms of everybody. We can't look at it in just terms of black and white. You look at these numbers. Nobody, and you look at drug use and all the other stuff, and we're not, black people, black men aren't doing it more than anybody else. But look at those incarceration rates. This is 2010 per 100,000. That thing is off the charts. This is a destabilizing social engineering tool. This is a technique. How do you tell me that you don't have to pay reparations for that? How do you tell me that you don't have to, not only you got to get them in therapy, you got to get them jobs, you got to get them tools. You can't just let them out either. You got to do a whole lot of stuff for them before they get back out on the street. Then they raise the cost of tuition. Right? So now, everybody tells you go to school, you can't compete. Because we don't have no money. Our people couldn't pay for us to go to school. They don't have no homes to take the money out of. They don't have no stocks. They don't have no inheritance. So you're burdened with all this debt, and then you don't have a job to plug it into. It's a catch-22 to catch Lyft and stuff like that, because you don't want to support it, but on the other hand, your people drive it. ADOS people will be driving. Every time I've ever been picked up as an ADOS person. And if I talk or have a conversation, how many people tell me they have degrees and they driving? All kinds of degrees, accounting degrees, engineering degrees, everything. And you driving this car. Understand how much of this life and this failure that we experience, this is race. We are an exploitation group. We are a failure group. That's who we are. Remember the mother who took her daughter to Spelman and couldn't get her registered because she hadn't paid back her own student debt? You got to know, if you have a kid and you still paying back student loans and you got your own kids, you have to know that this was a setup for failure. So they got all of these little failure mechanisms for us. And people, you can't even, it has to be reparations, because when you look at the story that was if you get the newsletter $2 a month, goes out every Sunday. If you get the newsletter, I put this in the newsletter, the heartbreaking decrease in black home ownership. And it shows that even what was done for us then has been rolled back, because if you're not a protected class, that's what happens. So this is what happens. If, the homeowners, we're talking about the home ownership rate. It fell to 43% in 2017, virtually erasing all the gains made since the passage of the Fair Housing Act in 1968, landmark legislation outlawing housing and discrimination. Listen, if your government has put you as a failure group. You are not going to succeed. You cannot compete against the United States government. And the only way the government makes up for that is to give you what you're owed and protect you as a protected specific class going forward. That's how you make up for it. There's no other way to make up for it. You need inheritance or you're locked out. That's just the way it is. I told you, somebody said, well, it's like a candy machine. Like, you know, Yvette wants to, and I don't think they meant any harm. They was asking the question. But they were just saying, like, you know, we got to fix the candy machine. America's broken. And then you don't get to start from zero. The candy machine's out of candy. The candy machine out of candy. Like, they done gave all the candy to white people, and you talking about, fix the candy machine. You don't know the candy machine ain't got no candy? Like, all these people are existing on the candy that they parents and grandparents got. Ain't no more candy. Bezos made his company off of a loan from his parents. Zuckerberg built his company off of like what would amount to like $300,000, I believe, off his parents. These people are making money off their parents' money and living off of wealth, in vivo life wealth transfers. You out. If you don't got a wealth transfer, that's it. That's it. What do you do when you out of candy? It don't make no sense to try to fix the candy machine if the candy machine ain't got no candy. Why do you want the candy machine? The candy machine don't work. So if you can't compete and the candy machine don't work, you just get pushed into this poverty. And so they're telling you, well, just get a jobs guarantee. That's one thing, but so yeah, you might have a job, but you still be poor. So you have a $20,000, $30,000, $35,000. That still doesn't make up for what your ancestors contributed in 400 years of oppression. That doesn't give you need to be given back that opportunity that was taken. That doesn't do it. You don't have any social capital. So you're not a part of these wealth networks or middle class networks or upper middle class networks. You're not a part of these networks of families that grew up together and they all have something to exchange with one another. No, we don't get to be a part of that. You can't do it that way. See, life don't work that way. We can't even forget wealth. We can't even get jobs. Like, we can't even have income. Look at this unemployment rate, still double of whites. That's the way, hey. Look at that black line. Look at that little black yellow. Look at that. That's what we are. And you don't fix that by just hitting a restart button. You don't fix this by just, well, I'm just going to hit it. I'm just going to restart it and we're just going to start all over, act like ain't nothing happened, okay? I know we cut off your arms and all you got right now is little bitty nubs and you can't do nothing with it, but we're going to get you some Medicare for all to take care of your nubs. But listen, as we start over, you still got to pick oranges, right? So I don't know, maybe pick them with your toes, but we're going to start over. And I'm sorry I hurt you, all right? Now, but we good now. Now, can you pick these oranges for me? Now, you're going to be competing with people that got like 8 arms. Because their arms are made stronger. They don't just got 2 arms. Their arms are made stronger by the wealth of their families. But you're competing against them. But, don't think about it too hard. Well, that song, don't think about it too much. Don't think about it too hard. You might get depressed. Just do what you got to do. That's what we are. And so, what I really, as we kind of get ready to close before I go into the other part of it, what I want to kind of understand, or what I want everybody to understand, is that what we're basically doing, or what we're allowing to be done with this kind of class, let's make everybody okay. You're making everybody okay by giving my reparations away. You don't get to do that. Now, I'm not saying that we can't change class later. I'm saying that, though, you haven't done what you need to do for this group. You have to fix this group. And it's not even like we didn't get fixed, but then somehow we came into a lot of money and we almost okay. No, we're cratering. Like the data that I put up shows you that we're coming undone as a group. That's just it. That's just where we are. So there is no way forward for us without reparations. And I think one of the things that Tony and I have done is use the data to help people understand the urgency and the urgent need for it. Now, what I want to get to really quickly before we go to the phones. You know, I have a lot of people. You know, we had Roland say what he said about you got to be out here, shouty. A lot of people are talking smack. And I'm a serious person, so I don't really mind like the foolishness. I don't. Fine, do what you do. Enjoy yourself. Knock yourself out, child. But, you know, I think now is as good a time as ever to kind of explore, the attempts to undermine ADOS and to undermine Antonio and I. And I said earlier in the post on Twitter that a lot happened in Selma. And I want to preface that, family, by saying this. When Martin Luther King Jr. said, we're coming to get our check, he talked about the Homestead Act, and he talked about all the loans and gifts that white America had been given, while we had only been given failure. Slavery, failure, hidden with sticks and batons, and we're being pushed back from being truly American. Now, here's what I say. Here's what I want to say with that. And here's what I want everybody to understand. I'm trying to say it right. But what MLK was calling for is what we're calling for as a group, as ADOS people, Breaking Brown family, Tone Talks family, right here, ADOS is what we've been doing. We are like the culmination of that. He said we coming to get our check. He couldn't do it. They killed him. We here though. That's what we doing. And so I've had a lot of people who have been online talking and saying, well, Yvette, you know, we agree with you. We agree with reparations and we want what's best for the people, but we just don't think you're going about it the right way. Some of those people actually wrote books about reparations. Now, it's been a long time ago, and they didn't update those books, 2000, 2003, or whatever it was, and you didn't update those books with useful data for right now. I understand that. I'm not judging you for not doing that. Well, I am, because you have to do that to keep it relevant. If you're academic, you have to do academic work. I'm sorry. You have to do it. Like this, it's actually kind of insane that we've had to do this work as Antonio Moore, Yvette Carnell, and you all haven't done the work to update your theories, right? You just kind of rest on your laurels, but that's fine. Like I said in the beginning of this, I have always said that there's room for everybody, right? And I have never said that you can't come here. I just said you can't come here and be disruptive. I never closed that door. But over Selma, there was a lot of things, and there were a lot of people. The person who wrote that book, he's over there on social media. He's talking to Roland. Everybody's talking to Roland. Somebody says in a thing that maybe we have to meet in Roland's room. We got to have a conversation. We got to deal with these ADOS people. That's what I heard. I heard you put together a plan to deal with me. While you were in Selma, understand the dastardliness of this. You in Selma talking about MLK, and you putting together a plot to upend ADOS people and the ADOS movement. That's what I heard. I don't know if it's true. That's what I heard. But let me just show you something real quick. See, it's a lot of people that been talking about how we don't know what we talking about. Now, I look at your Twitter. Y'all just showing all kind of stuff. You retweeting Roland Martin. All of a sudden, they are webs. Roland Martin says that this guy's gonna be on his show soon, and then you come across something that really kind of gives it away, because a lot of y'all who are in these rooms talking to the Pan-Africanist Brigade really don't understand that a lot of the same people you talk to call me up because they don't like you either, of your leadership or the way that you're leading this, right? So you got a lot of moles you got to deal with, but that ain't really my problem. So I see this message, Mr. Wimbush. Now understand something. There's so much more to the so-called ADOS movement than what is being surfaced. I'm flying back from Selma. You flying back from Selma? I'm flying back from Selma, and there will be a major statement forthcoming by several Pan-Africans, about its true origins, motives, and goals. They will be peeped. It's an old man. He got gray hair talking about they will be peeped. They will be peeped. And remember who you sleep with. Pay attention. Who you sleep with has a lot to do with your politics. Politics at its finest. Let me help y'all understand something. If you are talking about who somebody sleeps with, I pulled up his book. That was Ray Wimbush right there. If you're talking about who somebody sleeps with, I know I sleep by myself every night. But if you, what are you doing? Are you pulling up old crates or something? Are you pulling up old stuff? What this really means, fam, understand, if you are using a personal smear, if you are attempting to smear us personally, me and Antonio individually, you don't care about reparations, because there is no Republican or right-wing backer. I have not taken, and Antonio has not taken any Republican or right-wing money. We are not funded by them. So all that other stuff is garbage. I know that's garbage because it's not happening. I know that because I see the accounts. These are YouTube money and small donors who donate on this channel and donate through PayPal. That's it. So what you are doing when you said at this end, who you sleep with, understand, and I understand that Pan-Africanists are about to do some Quintel Y'all are about to do, this is what they did with MLK. MLK was, he was unfaithful or whatever. And the FBI was sending stuff and he did this and he did that. And they told him to commit suicide. You all, during the day, you say that you're on the side of, you just don't like the way we're doing, We're not in the tradition of Pan-Africanism. This is coming from, I don't know what y'all doing, Morgan State, because y'all got him on here. Y'all got Jerry Ball. I had Jerry Ball on my show. I invited Jerry Ball to Dr. Cosby's church because I said, I'd like to uplift people. Everybody says, well, Yvette, you all don't know how I try to uplift people behind the scenes. I tried to uplift this man, brought him to Dr. Cosby's church, and I'm not saying that I don't have a problem that Jerry Ball's an atheist. I welcome all of my people. But I do have, why did you get on stage, Jerry Ball, and say, well, I'm an atheist? You got on stage in a black church with a jogging suit on and called yourself an atheist. You don't have to, I asked you to speak about education. You didn't have no notes prepared. You were just lazy. And let me just tell you that these people are being lazy. They're doing lazy work. And instead of saying, you know what, let me get together with these people and do good work with them and let me step my game up, you're plotting in Selma against what Dr. King wanted. You should be ashamed of yourself. Listen, I had a nightmare the other night about a bunch of old Negroes coming at me with old Kangos and dashikis on. Like, this is what, because I know what y'all doing. Like, this is what y'all are doing. People talk to me all the time. Ain't nobody really dealing with, like, listen, nobody said you couldn't come on board. But what y'all are doing is trying to back channel and dismantle what we have going on. You're not trying to help. You never reached out to me. You never said, well, I think it should be this way. Jerry Ball and I had a disagreement we had this whole debate on Facebook. I don't believe that I should have to, listen, I'm using political imagination here. I'm putting this in a 21st century lens based on where we are right now globally. With global income inequality and globalism. I don't have to follow you. You ain't nobody. You ain't nobody I need to follow. You're lazy. I'm not a lazy thinker. I don't care. So I'm just letting everybody know that the smear campaign is coming. That the smear campaign is on its way. So you're going to, instead of reaching out and say, you know what, I have some qualms or whatever, but like, I think you should change this, or let's have a conversation. Y'all are plotting in Selma. So tell me why I should have been in Selma, Roland. I know what I heard that a lot of people, you might have been included, Roland, because I saw y'all in a lot of pictures together. Y'all was in a lot of pictures together. This is the first national discussion before an election where ADOS people are putting together a black agenda. And our black agenda includes reparations. This is the first time in my memory. And instead of trying to help, you all are putting together a smear campaign. You should be ashamed of yourselves. And y'all are old and you want to call yourselves elders, and you want to say I should respect you and respect your elders. When you're putting together a plot against me, you're old enough to be my daddy, old man. And this is what you're doing? This is what y'all are doing? Morgan State, I got to have a conversation with you, because a lot of this is coming out your school. A lot of this is coming out your university. I got to have a conversation with my alma mater, to Howard University. Y'all don't even do scholarly stuff online. Y'all retweeting Michael Jackson stuff and doing a bunch of garbage online. You're not even doing real work, and you want to talk to me? You want to smear me? You want to smear Antonio over some private stuff? Well, you can't sleep. I got some stuff coming. You're looking at it. I mean, we're at the 1 hour mark, fam. So, you know, I want to let you all have your say. I don't want to go too long. The whole thing just really has me pissed. So I wanted to put it out there. I've seen a whole lot of other chats and stuff too about these little sordid plans. And understand that if you really have a difference of opinion ideologically, strategically, like you would put out a paper about the strategic pitfalls of the ADOS movement. That's one thing. The strategic pitfalls of whatever. Now you can send me something, Yvette. Strategically, I feel that you all are going to fail because of X, Y, and Z. And I want to help you. That's not what they're doing. And I think that we have to have a discussion about people who are very much more worried about whether or not they're in charge, or whether or not they still get some speaking fees, or whether or not somebody pays for an Cobra office, rather than whether or not we really make a push for prescriptive policies that help the collective. And we're going to have that conversation. And so give me a few minutes at the phones. I'm going to break, and I'll be right back. Hit that like button for me, fam. If you're in the chat, hit that like button for me. If you have not already, one of the things I wanted to say, I saw, I think Bakar just put up the hotels. We do not have an official hotel for the event because it's going to be not an enormous event. So they were looking for like 500 a guarantee, whatever it was. So we don't have an official hotel. So the ones that but you can stay wherever you like. She put the ones in that like I mentioned the other week because I'm gonna be at one of those. So just so you are aware of that, I just wanted to make sure everybody kind of knew because I knew I said I would follow up, and I don't like to not follow up when I say I'm going to follow up. Also, get your tickets to come because we're kind of I think we're like 2/3 of the way full of the actual church that we're going to be in. So after that, I'll be at the Galt House. The other hotel she mentioned was the Hyatt. And get your tickets because I think we're kind of like 2/3 of the way full of the church where we're going to be in, and after that will be the overflow. And the overflow tickets will be cheaper, but I'm just saying if you actually want to be, I'm sure, in the room. So the tickets are $15. So handle that. So I'll be at the Galt House. There are some other hotels people have sent me that they kind of like better or whatever the case may be. It's just a very central location, and I was trying to kind of do something in that area too. But I'm still brainstorming on that after the conference day stuff. So, but anyway, as we go to the phones, ladies and gentlemen, as we do every night. I'm going to go to the first call. I'm going to go to 919. What is your name, where you're calling from, and what's on your mind?
Hi, my name is T. I'm calling from North Carolina.
What's going on, T?
So I wanted to kind of touch on, can you hear me?
I can hear you fine.
Okay, great. So I just wanted to touch on, first of all, Steve God, whatever his name is, Charlemagne. I don't even know how to pronounce it, but he is a horrible interviewer. For one, I want to kind of go back and talk about what you said about Bernie. He's very rehearsed. He's very rehearsed when he speaks. It sounds like someone has, coached him and kind of, told him exactly what to say, because he's went on in some type of interview run, and for the last interviews, he can't be deaf, dumb, and blind. Like, he's not any of those things, right? So every interview, when someone asks him about reparations, it's like clockwork. He says, well, what is that? You've been explaining this 3 different interviews in the last week. We saw him, Bernie. You know what reparations are. We're talking about monies, monies. What about, what are you going to give us? And so he goes to, no, not really. He's just trying to play cheat now. So I really don't know what's wrong with him, but I feel like he's an undercover, indirectly a racist. He spoke kindly of, working middle class, like white middle class. He, kind of went to bat for them in interviews, but when it came down to reparations, it's just like, no. So to me, the way he speaks with utterly, like, disgust, sort of like Kamala, whatever her name is, they're kind of speaking with disgust, like, how can you ask me that, or no, they're kind of giving themselves away. But he's a horrible interviewer. See the God, immediately he should have said, what do you mean, what is that, what do you mean, we're talking about money? And then when he said it, he should have said, well, didn't you not agree with the Jews receiving money? Did you not agree with the Japanese receiving money? They did not receive, they did not spend 400 years of slavery. Are you okay with that? And immediately, I don't think that Bernie would answer that, but it's just, he could have kind of went into details and hammered him on what he could have done for reparations and kind of more explaining why not.
See, therein lies the problem. Like, if you don't know details, you can't go into details, right? I mean, that's kind of the conundrum. If you don't know details, it's really hard to go into details. And I think that's the problem with having, like, a hip hop show. And I'm not saying that you can't like hip hop but you have a hip hop show, so your whole job is to, like, know whose album's coming out, who's beefing with who, and what kind of deal, the EMI and all that stuff. And so you don't really know about politics, and somehow somebody has kind of merged this, and so you get to have these interviews. And so what we're dealing with is that, like, you all shouldn't be doing the interview, but you're doing the interview. And so it just gets messed up, and and he did better by at least following up, but the bar is so low. Like, understand that, like, better for Charlemagne is just like the bar is so low. Like, and I don't even know, like, somebody has to answer me. I don't know whether or not they give the candidates questions ahead of time. Like, I don't know. I don't know. When Antonio and I viewed Marianne Williamson, she didn't know anything. Like, she didn't know what was happening. And you could tell that from the interview, whether you could tell, like, when the HBCU question comes up or whatever, you could tell that, like, okay, this person is coming in cold. And I appreciate her for that, because people be like, well, she made this mistake. Part of the reason probably is because she came in cold, while other people may come in rehearsed, and they might know, like, well, we're going to talk about this. I don't know what you're trying to do. Like, they haven't disclosed to us what they share, or whether they give them info about what they're going to have a conversation. I don't know. We need to ask these questions.
Right. And I'm going to finish with just see God, whatever his name is. I don't even like calling him that. And, all of these Ronald Martins and all of those people of the world, if you do not know about reparations, just go ahead and point them to Tone Talks in Yvette. Just go ahead and swallow your pride. And, just point them to Tone Talks in Yvette, because you're doing us a disservice if you're sitting here letting him in 2019 say, well, what is that? Like he's slower or something. So just go ahead and just say, well, maybe you want to go to Yvette, BreakingBrown.com.
Hey, listen, me and Antonio will be happy to do that. As a matter of fact, we gonna listen. We gonna send invites. We gonna everybody, all you candidates. You can come to the ADOS 101 conference, and we can tape it, and we can have a whole interview, a whole conversation. Like, we'll be happy to do that, but you have to be willing to kind of interrogate candidates and not kind of just throw out the, like, I feel like Charlemagne just, like, I feel like he just asks questions that he sees being asked online. Like, well, somebody said this about you online. Well, somebody said this, or you know what they saying online? There's a meme about you. Like, that's not how you do interviews. That's not how you research the candidate. And that's what we are, though, which says a lot. I don't know.
Yeah. Lazy, if you will.
It's a lot of laziness going around.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, fam. I appreciate it.
Yes, thank you.
I appreciate it.
Bye-bye.
It's a lot of laziness going around. 313-313. What's your name? Where you calling from? What's on your mind?
Hey, what's going on? It's Chad from Michigan. How you doing?
What's going on, Chad? I'm doing pretty good. How about you?
Not bad. So I want to touch on a couple of things.
Okay.
And I said this one of the last times I called, and I still think it's true. First they ignore you, then they laugh at you, then they fight you, and then you win. I think we probably are in between that laughing at you and fighting the stage in terms of the response to the ADOS movement, right? That's my perception of it. But relative to Bernie Sanders, the previous caller, she you know, for lack of a better phrase, she stole a lot of my thunder. But that's fine. I'm not really tripping like that. But it's interesting how Senator Bernie Sanders is so obtuse and, you know, playing the dummy man role relative to reparations. When he asks these questions, what does reparations, what does that mean? I mean, you know exactly what it was when you co-sponsored the Just Act last year, which is the, what's the name of that? It's the Justice for Uncompensated Survivors Today Act, which would help provide Holocaust survivors and their family members with restitution. You co-sponsored that. You know what reparations is. So there's not a question of if he knows what it is. But and this is not the case for Bernie Sanders, but I think the people asking him questions about reparations are asking the wrong type of questions. Because what they're doing, they're pigeonholing reparations as being exclusively for slavery and exclusively a check or cash disbursement.
Yeah.
Right? So instead of, you know, when he says, you know, what are reparations, what does that mean? Instead of saying a money or a check for slavery, why aren't these people smart enough to say it's a specific set of policies that account for and aim to make recompense for enslavement, Jim Crow, redlining, property and waste, that's lynching, mass incarceration, so on and so forth. Everything born from enslavement, not just the enslavement itself.
Yeah,
because
exactly.
The thing is, the moral imperative at that time was ending enslavement. Now the moral imperative is making redress for everything that followed from enslavement. Better yet, you know, some of these people, they can ask, well, reparations would be similar to what Jewish people got following the Holocaust, including but not limited to land and money. And what I find is that he's trying to use the how of reparations to distract from the why. And there's no amount of how you can explain if people don't have the conviction on why reparations are necessary. And he's using the how to distract from that. Because if it's me or anybody like me, you're going to say, yeah, I'm about that reparations. How are we going to get it done?
Okay.
I'm not going to say, how are we going to get it done, and then I'll see if I'm with it or not.
But see, that's a tool. That's a tool that people use to kill it. That's why I don't like to talk about it that way.
Yeah.
I mean, I talk about it in generalities, but what people, and see, the thing is, these same people, you know, like if I ask you how you gonna do Medicare for all or just jobs guarantee, that costs money, right? Like I don't hear him giving a specific plan in terms of most of the time when he talks to people about how he's gonna get that done. Like, but whenever I say, like, if I say Medicare for all, yeah. If people say end ICE, you say, yeah. If I say end all private, you say, yeah. If I say reparations, now you say, well, how you gonna do that? How you gonna do that? I don't understand. Can you put a plan for me? I'm just trying to be reasonable.
Exactly.
Now, we're the only people who get that, who get that kind of thing. So, I appreciate it, caller. You got anything last you want to say before we go to the next caller?
Yeah, I do actually. It's interesting you put those stats earlier about the incarceration rates. So, in Vermont, the state of Vermont is 1.2% black people, right? That's the black population.
That ain't no black people. That's like one black man running around.
That's about like 8,000 black people in the entire state. Yet the black prison population is over 2,000 per 100,000. He's been in the Senate for 20 years. What has he done to address that in his home state?
So you saying he want our vote, but he ain't did nothing to show that he like understands us or wants to do anything to get our vote?
I mean, pretty much.
Okay.
Last thing I do want to address, and I'll make this kind of short, relative to the Pan-Africanism. I'll say this. I don't have a problem with Pan-Africanism in principle. I have a problem with Pan-Africanism in practice because in practical terms, it's been lopsided, it's been one-sided. In fact, Pan-Africanism was generated by ADOS. That being said, Pan-Africanism has to originate and be politically functional on the continent before it can be effective anywhere else in the diaspora, right? If it's not anchored and functional on the continent, there's no way it even makes sense for it to work anywhere else, period. You know what I mean? And to that point, the Pan-Africans, they mad at the ADOS movement when we talk about reparations being exclusively for ADOS, right? But they're not talking about CARICOM and how their reparations movement is exclusive to the Caribbean member states of CARICOM.
And understand it, fam. Listen, understand. I'm not mad at CARICOM. Because these kind of justice claims have to be exclusive, not because people are trying to be mean to me or because Caribbeans don't like me. It's not about that at all. I'm sure we cool.
It's a matter of legality.
There you go. It's a matter of legality. You have to be specific. It's a matter of legality.
And in fact, the UN specialists on reparations to the United States, they even said that, hey, for reparations specifically for ADOS, y'all might want to look at what CARICOM is doing and they 10-point plan and things like that. But the Pan-Africanists, they not making no noise about how CARICOM is exclusive to the CARICOM member states. But they would be mad at ADOS because we try to make no sense.
It don't make no sense. But you know one of the
hypocritical.
Yeah, it is. And I appreciate you, fam. Thank you for calling. I appreciate you. You know what else? I mean, let me just say this. We have let me tell you who is on that. ADOS allies are on it. They're like, yeah, this don't make no sense. Like, of course y'all, America did this stuff. Of course you do. Like, and they don't even understand that. Like, let me show you the lack of political imagination. These people don't even understand that if we are successful in this push as ADOS in the richest country in the world, do you not understand how that reverberates globally? Do you not understand the potential of this if we are successful in this moment? Do you not understand that we could take this show on the road if we were successful in terms of getting reparations for ADOS? We could do this and we could show everybody, this is what you do with Belgium. This is what you do with France. Do you not understand what this would mean if America had to kneel and give what was due? Like, that's what I mean when I say these people lack political imagination. I focus on what's in front of me. But I see what the success of ADOS means for everybody. And it's funny to me that people who talk about black liberation all day really don't see it. They have no clue. They just running around just regurgitating stuff they read in college. Anyway, 310, what's going on?
Yeah, this is Strong Talks. I just wanted to jump in for a second. Thank you guys again for all of your support. Don't get fatigued. Let's keep pushing. Let's keep the discussion going because they trying to move on from it. You know, Kamala Harris, I tweeted, she was talking about Women's Day. She done went into her hole and she ain't talking no more. Bernie running around saying the same thing on every show. Shout out to Sunny Hostin. I don't agree with a lot what she says, but she, if you compare how part of the problem is that Charlamagne is not a serious person to me. You know, I got into it with him over black privilege, if y'all recall. So what happens is he laughs and then he comes in shy. Or if you look, I want y'all just to go look at how on The View, of all places, Sunny Hostin reiterates her question versus how Charlamagne does. Charlamagne reiterates his question like he's lost with Bernie. That's not how you do things, man. Come on. If you look at what Marianne Williamson says that black people have money, I don't care who you are. You don't know what you're talking about. Black people don't have money. I don't care what this does to your campaign. Black people don't have money. Charlamagne doesn't understand tone, pace. He doesn't understand how to question. When you look at Sunny Hostin and how she answered, she might have said money. And even on live TV, I even take that. It's so harsh that Bernie was thrown because they don't have that. Like, where did it come from? You know, I mean, money. And I come back to it and I just say, whether people understand it or not, ADOS is coming. This whole thing for Roland, I'm about tired of, Roland, I'm tired of it. You know, he be having like 100. He was interviewing Cory Booker walking. Who does that, man? Just tell this man sit down and do an interview or don't. And then had 100 people watching live. You're interviewing a presidential candidate, and 100 people are watching live. And so, like, you get Roland, and he's saying little slick stuff about I was in Selma, and y'all don't. I went to the Selma thing as well. I just went a few years ago. I went to Selma thing as well. I've been there. Right here, Pettis Village, I've been there. And so, like, for me, in so many instances, there's presumption, and it's like Roland trying to act like you be on the ground every time. It's like, nah, you don't be on the ground every time. You was on the ground that day because Hillary, Booker, and all the candidates was there. Like, this week, you're not going to go nowhere. There's something else going on, though, if you want to run around the country and then make that argument, okay. And so I just first wanted to say that. Now, the next thing I want to say to y'all, you know, there's this long discussion on the girl Bree page, and Yvette was talking to her, and it's this class versus race argument. Look, I'm not even going to deal with the ignorance of it all, because what we know is that the top 5% of black families, all you need is 350 yards. That's it. That's like the top 30% of white families, and they have 83 million homes. You understand that there's only a few 100,000 black homes, maybe two. It's like 350,000 black homes worth more than $1.2 million. And we don't know if half of that is immigrants. There's no black wealth in this country. Like, it's negligible, let me say that. So, while 13 million white families are worth more than $1.2 million, a million white families worth more than $10 million. They produce everything. And then as a result, even if you're the poorest white person, people don't know if you're from the wealth class. So you travel and can traffic on looking like money. There's value. Just as funny, as much as we were a contagion to wealth during redlining, whiteness is a projection of wealth today.
Ooh.
Come on, let's talk about it. That's what happens. That's why you can take a homeless white man, shake, if he don't have no tattoos or nothing, wash him up, cut his hair, and he can walk around any kind of Wall Street and anything else. I'm saying to you today, you know, I look at this thing and I want to tell y'all a way to deal with this whole class, race versus stupidity. Let me tell you why. Yvette gave the analogy earlier. I just want to make sure it's clear for y'all. Look, if you're sleeping outside and the homeless shelter offers you a cot, of course you want a cot. That's universal health care and everything else. But you don't want a cot if they use your money from your family that you were supposed to receive individually to pay for the shelter. They want to pay for universal programs with our money. See, this is what ADOS does that none of these other groups even understood. For me, it makes you understand not just that you owe reparations, but that you have ownership in the country. So what's happening is they haven't paid a debt, and they want to talk about charity. You don't get to talk about charity with my money. And I don't care if you want to recognize it's my money, and it's my money.
Yeah, that's true.
And so, like, I want to make sure everybody is following me. When you talk about the Green New Deal, when you talk about universal health care, when you're talking about charity, they haven't paid the debt that they're owed. Everything we're talking about is a debt. It's not charity, like reparations. And we're here to claim it. Like, this is just what it is. It's so odd because nobody's been doing the work. Nobody's been making this a national conversation. Yeah, they've been meeting in secret, and they keep talking. Even Charlemagne didn't get it. He kept talking about the enslaved Africans. That's not what's going on, Charlemagne. You out of touch. You out of touch. See, if you don't ground it in being American, it seems like an outside group is asking for something from an inside group. You goddamn stupid, man. So it's American descendants of slavery. Because we're Americans, and we're asking and demanding what we were supposed to be given from the institution of slavery. This is very clear what we're doing. We're not playing games here. Charlemagne the God is a problem. Roland Martin is a problem. All these people don't understand. Look, I met Yvette. Yvette was doing her stuff, doing it on a level. I wanted to bring her to data, but I have a vision here. And I'm trying to take y'all there. But if I got to take y'all there, y'all got to follow me. Charlemagne can't ask no more questions because he's not asking them right. There's details and there's specifics, because the specifics is where we're going to get gains. We're not enslaved Africans. Africa's not a place. It's 54 countries. We're Americans that built America that are owed a debt because of the institution of slavery. That's what makes us different than Incorporated. That's why this is going to work. That's why they're scared. This is a vision I have here. And so I'm just saying this to y'all because I'm not playing. I'm coming. I told y'all that. I guess it sounded kind of odd if you go back and listen to the old show. He says, he's coming. What does he mean? Yeah, we're here now. You kind of see the shine. But this is only the first phase. This is only the first phase. We're going to have 1 million ADOS. If anybody say anything that's wrong, we own them. Internet, we own them. Soon enough, we're going to be at the rallies. Y'all might want to quash this now and figure out how y'all going to pay it. And I'm not just talking about money. I'm talking about restructuring. We're an exploitation class right now. We are a class that is here to fail and to eat the failure. What we're trying to do is re-put us at the top as producers. They did it in South Africa. Yeah, it's called redistribution because you never distributed our shit right. So, like, of course, we want to produce things and we want to be American because we built America. Yeah. So we're trying to go from being an exploitation class where your sons are born to go to prison to being a producer class where your sons produce corn that they own and that they sell to people that need to eat corn. And so, like, I'm telling y'all that because I got a vision here, and I'm just telling you this is just the first phase of it. But details are everything. You see that people don't understand. They're stumbling in the ground. Your Angela Rye talking about $17,000 in income and $170,000. No, that's not the numbers. Talking about spending power there. No, that's not right. And I'm just saying to you guys, as I close out, can somebody tell Bernie we're not including the Native Americans? You know, he slickball trying to do that, and Charlamagne didn't even follow up. God, you didn't follow up? You didn't hear him say that? Like, did you just include the Native Americans in reparations? Now, I don't have no issue with them getting whatever they get, but they're not getting it on this plane. This train is for people that descend from American slavery and also went through Jim Crow. Shirley Chisholm and Marcus Garvey got to go through CARICOM. And that doesn't just come from me. I don't just use just speculative things that come from the sky, and I think I'm using stuff like Sandy Derry. I'm using real people because you got to understand that the Caribbeans came voluntarily. Let me say it again. They were enslaved in where they was at, but they came here voluntarily. See, like, we create this narrative of like, well, a lot of them went to, they came over as slaves. No, this massive group that we're talking about came over voluntarily to America. The narrative and the way we created slavery isn't how it happened. In addition, we create this idea, we talk about, what about the Africans in Liberia? You look up the numbers, we're talking about thousands of families. We're using fringe arguments. What about Stokely Carmichael? That was before immigration actually took off. If you actually look at the amount of Caribbean immigrants during the actual Jim Crow era, it was simple negligible compared to post-1980. But still, they don't get reparations. This is tied to slavery and the Reconstruction of Jim Crow, the whole thing, the whole pie. And understand, we're not going to do no DNA test as of now. We're talking about straight up, you got one, look how low the bar is, one ancestor that comes from slavery. One ancestor. Look, we here now, this discussion is real. Y'all need this to happen just like I do and Yvette does. There's a lot of people talking for all of us that are aspirations, meaning that they and their parents somehow loopholed out of it, and they speaking for us that need it the most, very loudly and wrongly. And I just want to tell y'all, shut them down, because we're not playing. All right, thank you, Mitch.
Appreciate it, Tone, as always. Appreciate it, Tone. Tone came with that. Ooh, y'all. Tone came with that fire tonight. That fire. Woo-wee. And I think one thing that he said, I'm not going to say much. I'm going to go to the next call. But I think one thing that he said that we have to understand, when we talk about we're not enslaved Africans, that makes us an outsider in the country that we built. I had talked earlier in like last year or 2 years ago, I can't remember how long ago, about the problem with us seeing ourselves or viewing ourselves as perpetual outsiders. So everybody gets to come here, cloak themselves in Americanness and be an insider while we still cloak ourselves. I got into it with Talib Kweli. I had to mute the child went crazy. But he said something is, who are you? You rocking the stars and stripes. Now mind you, this man has that he likes to brag about, has two parents who are PhDs. He has a brother who went to Harvard and Yale. and you're talking like this little Negro that was in the ghetto and you went through this, and you're just kind of like frauding your way through life the way you're moving. And I say that to mean like, you know, your family is an elite family. How many of you have 2 PhDs as your parents or whatever? But you're telling me that I should not claim America. They claimed America. Your parents claimed America with their jobs, like with their life and the life that they gave to you. And so, like, what you have to kind of understand, is that, listen, I come from a two-parent household, lower middle class, 2 factory workers. I don't try to speak for or speak to in the sense of like anecdotally or just to get by. I don't speak. No, I speak in terms of data, in terms of what that data means for your life. I understand that, like, if you're on South Side of Chicago in the projects, that wasn't the life that I live in a lower middle class household with two parents who are still together, right? I understand that, like, I cannot try to speak for you. I understand that. So I try to project what life means for you in terms of the data. I didn't grow up in that situation. Your mother could have been on track. Your daddy's in jail. I look at the data for your life, and I do that way. I think we have allowed people to, like, come into this space and speak anecdotally in terms of their experience, or kind of cloak themselves in, like, the hip hop early on was like poverty and expressing that, and that's not who you were, but you never really told us that until later, and it's all very odd. So I think we should try to understand that as we go forward, right? And please mute these people online, because they just go crazy and they be hopped up on something. Just ain't nobody got time. So I'm going to the next caller. I'm going to 202. 202, I'm coming to you. What's your name? Where you calling from? What's on your mind?
This is D, calling from the DMV area. I want to say, hey, tonight you've had some great callers. The gentleman, I guess, was Michigan. He knocked the ball out the park. He felt the spirit of Antonio. He was going hard in the paint. And what I want to do and add to this as well is just I see the momentum. I'm seeing things going, and just, it kind of reminds me of what our brother Neely Fuller would says, that the white supremacists will try to take both sides of the argument. And I think you have your co-ops, like the Roland Martins, the Angela Rise, now are trying to act like they're on board and trying to co-opt the message. And don't be surprised that these people are paid by the extension of COINTELPRO to try to undermine and disrupt, or if not dilute, the whole momentum of everything. So I need you guys to understand that and look at that, to take a step back and look at some history. Also, I kind of caution you and Antonio, you guys, I don't know what your security is going on with you guys, but I would caution you guys to be very careful and have security around you, particularly with this movement. And
we ain't got no money for no security. I'll scratch your face. But we ain't got no money for no security. What you talking about? Like, we survive on small donations.
I understand you, volunteers or whatever you may need, but I'm just saying, just be cautious. Okay. I understand. Yeah, I'm just saying, being cautious and aware. And also, I wanted to make a point about what someone said about elders. The title elder is earned. John Henry Clark was an elder. Dr. Ben was an elder. What we have nowadays is we just got some old niggas. So just because you get older, that doesn't mean you're an elder. You have to earn that title. And I also wanted to say one other point. Have you guys added into trying to bring that within the ADOS movement, the Freeman Bureau, having that reinstated and have that coming resurrected back in aiding for the whole reparations movement or other aspects for implementing programs, having the Freeman Bureau resurrected. And I'll leave it from there.
Okay, fam, I appreciate that little Freedman's part. I was reading about that earlier today, as a matter of fact, so I appreciate that. Yeah, I mean, it's just, it's strange people put you in this position where you feel like you have to have security. Like, I understand what he was saying, but, like, unlike the people who spread the lies, we don't have, like, we're not backed by Ann Coulter, so we don't have, like, security security money. I don't even think she probably has security all the time. Nobody does that. Like, what kind of wildness are y'all into? Like, and I understand what he was saying. I'm talking about the people that he's talking about. Like, this is just very odd. It's all very strange. I am going right now to 732. 732, what's your name? Where you calling from? What's on your mind?
Hi, I've been a long-time listener.
Hey.
First-time caller. My name is Berkeley Thomas, and I live in the Baltimore area.
Okay. What's going on?
I can't believe Tone called in and talked about literally what I was going to ask. Because one of the things that I had thought about, which was quite interesting, I was looking at somebody that made a video on ADOS, and you know how people get inheritance from things that estates are owed from a long time ago.
Yeah.
That's why one of the things I was calling in to ask, what, in your opinion, constitutes ADOS? Because, and the reason I'm asking that is because, like, you know, the world doesn't happen in a bubble. And, like, for instance, the Spanish-American War, the United States purchasing the U.S. Virgin Islands.
Yeah, but, like,
slavery happened in those particular places.
Yeah, but here's the thing. Here's the thing.
I'm just asking.
Okay, no. I'm just going to ask you.
Are they a part of our struggle because our country has taken their lands as ours?
No.
And also,
let me just say this.
Also, I want to know about, like, when our slaves ran from our slavery or left or opted out of the United States, like when slaves from East Texas ran to Mexico. People left in the War of 1812 up to Nova Scotia, and the Liberians, and even, you know, like I've heard stories of my great grandfather. Not my great grandfather. My grandfather might have a kid somewhere over in the Philippines. Are they a part of?
No, he's a Philippine. No, like listen. If you like, I totally respect your decision to go to Liberia and start over, or go to what else did you say? All these places, Philippines, to start over. I totally respect that. I totally understand why you did it. But you went to Liberia and started a country. That is you now. That is who you are now. You are Liberian now. You're not ADOS now. You decided. Your ancestors decided to make you Liberian. No, like, you're Liberian. And plus, like, all of these people that you're mentioning, like, all these people aren't showing up asking for reparations. But if they did, I would tell them that they're Liberian. But, like, understand something. Even all this stuff that we're talking about, like, all these people are aberrations. Like, this isn't, the majority of us are still here and can trace, like, at least one of our parent lines back to slavery. And that is the definition that we're moving with right now. So, like, all of this other, like, well, what if I had an uncle who went to Nova Scotia in the summer of 1845? Like, I think we have to deal with the majority group. But, like, they went to Liberia and started a country. So now you are a Liberian. That's who you are.
Okay. I mean, I'm gullible on both sides, so I can't even trace my way out of this country. So I just wanted to thank you for answering my question. I'm a firm supporter of ADOS.
No, I appreciate it. Thank you, fam. I appreciate you calling in. I'm going to 310. 310, what's your name? Where you calling from? What's on your mind?
Hey, my name is Miko. I'm out in Los Angeles.
What's up, Miko?
The first thing I want to say is that a lot of us need to pay a lot of attention to what goes on internationally, because sometimes the precedents as well as the ammunition that we need, it's taking place there. So, for instance, when we're telling the Democratic Party, we can't trust you. In 2001, I think they had the Durban Conference on Racism, and Bush didn't send a representative, or he sent low level. But they were talking about reparations, And you're talking about hundreds of countries that are telling the Europeans and the Africans, hey, y'all need to pay up. By 2009, there was basically agreement, and they were actually ready to come to some consensus. Well, they have the consensus, but they're struggling to find the language. Reparations did not make the final language. However, 2009, President Obama was the president, and he did not send a representative to that conference because he's saying, oh, well, they might have some language against Israel. Well, first of all, we're your constituents, and we're your constituents that got you elected. So whatever may go on with Israel, that's a separate country. But we are your constituents. So when you're telling the Democratic Party, when you're telling Nancy Pelosi, when you're telling Kamala, no, we can't trust y'all on this, that's how you know it. Because you had a president in there that was not African enough to send a representative. Clearly, he wasn't African American enough to send a representative. So when you're saying, hey, we can't trust y'all on this stuff, that's why we're saying it. But the other thing is, even on President Obama, in 2016, he went to Israel doing one of their remembrance celebrations or something like that. And of course, he gives the typical, y'all must make the world remember. The world must never be allowed to forget. So he gave that speech.
Okay.
Then, a month later, he goes to Africa, and he gave them, I think he went to Tanzania, he went to 4 countries. But anyway, he gave them, y'all got to move on, y'all got to let it go and move on speech.
Yeah.
And I guess he didn't know they had internet, and some of them had TV, and they held his feet to the fire about that, and they let him know, look, dude, you were just over in Israel talking about the world must not be allowed to forget. Now you're going to come up here and tell us.
Move on.
The thing is, these tools, right, you telling us to move on. And so the thing is, and we can see even for the ADOS movement, the Bernie Sanders and the Obamas of the world, when they get in front of the usual suspects, they're giving them one prescription. But when they come and get in front of us, y'all got to let that go. No, how we going to do this? But see, the other thing is, and this is what we all have to understand, we have to understand legal precedent. The issue is, when you look at, and what they're all looking at, when you're looking at reparations, they're saying, it's not, see, the country is just only one defendant. Now, obviously, the slave trade took place in a lot of different places. But when you talk about the shippers, you're talking about the same shipper. When you're talking about the insurers of the cargo, and that's why they're fighting. Because if it was really just your country paying the money, they could print the money if they really wanted to. But when you're talking about the Santa Maria, the Pinta, the La Nina, those ships were leased. And so from international law, you're going after the shipper. You're going after the insurers. You're going after every single
the same way the Jewish community went after that railroad company. That's what you're talking about?
Yes. Yeah, and they're trying to get IBM because IBM had lent the Nazis computers, and they were using a system supposedly that was used to help count the Jews that were going to the concentration camps. So they've been trying to capture money from IBM. But the thing is, so we have to understand, because the slave trade was so pervasive and it was so wealthy, money made it change, it morphed into other industries. And so once you get the forensic, financiers in there to look at that, and those are the people that are really fighting, because you're not talking about countries anymore. You're talking about companies. And so those people doing everything they can, and obviously the biggest industries all would typically birth the biggest industries. So whatever was the biggest industries back in the day, you look at the biggest industries now, so it may have been the cigarette companies at some point, but that money morphed. As that, the gig ran up and the lawsuits posted up, they put their money into other stuff. And so those people are going to fight us tooth and nail, because they're not trying to pay up. So we really do have to look at what's going on internationally. As far as the Pan-African movement, I think the one thing that we all have to be realistic and just understand, we needed the Pan-African movement because obviously we had nowhere else to go. And so we were looking for allies. But when you look at Africa, we even figured out that they really need a treaty organization like NATO because they could use that to protect themselves. And they haven't even figured that out because that's how the United States forces its treaty partners to do its bidding against melanated countries. So like you're looking at Cuba, Venezuela, two countries that fought in Africa against white rule. That's how they're able to penalize them because they say, hey, you guys on this treaty with us, these cats have moved against us, so you're forced to honor that treaty. So until the African nations and other nations figure out, hey, y'all, we got to have a treaty organization, and we gonna all become part of that. And those of us with the most resources, we can wield those resources to protect the ones that don't have them.
It's hard. I appreciate you calling. I appreciate you calling in, Carla. And you said a lot of deep stuff. But let me just say this: it's hard to do that when you're a puppet country. Like, everybody wants to talk tough to us. Well, you know, you in America. Look, your leaders are puppets for the West. Like, why don't you go and deal with them and talk about why all your leaders puppets? And don't act like I haven't said that foreign policy is the main problem in this country. Like, these leaders are puppets. Like, your African leaders are puppets for the West. They got all, the caller talked about resources. They got all these resources. What they gonna do with it? You think they ain't gonna give it to the West? You think they ain't going? You think these countries, the leaders of these African countries talking about, are not America's and all these other countries' errand boys and girls? Hello, yard boy. You think no? I think so. So I want everybody who's talking about what we should do. Like, what are you doing over there? Over there, what are you doing? About your leader who is not using your resources for your people. See, because we've been fighting this fight over here as ADOS for a long time. So I don't want anybody criticizing us. Tell me what you gonna do because you got a lot of puppet leaders over there. Why you running over here? Fight your fight. We've been fighting our fight over here for a long time. Don't criticize me. If you come over here, you have access. And we always fight for you and you have access to what we fought for. Y'all, but you know, you might want to consider a little fighting over there. It looks a little messed up. I'm going now to 617. 617, what's your name? Where you calling from? What's on your mind?
What's going on, Yvette? It's Reggie from Boston.
What's going on, Reggie? How you doing?
I'm doing good, man. You know, we just fighting this fight. Just want to, just kind of, piggyback off, I believe, Tone said that, just got to keep fighting. Don't get tired. They're going to keep, throwing stuff at us, but, we got to keep going. But I just wanted to touch real quick on, Bernie and then the Pan-African thing. As far as Bernie, I feel like you can make the argument that, Sanders could arguably be the most racist candidate on the ballot. And the reason I say that is, for you to actually be a recipient of reparations yourself, turn around, be a senator, and work on legislation for reparations, and then you turn around and say no to my group, I really don't know how to interpret that as anything other than racist, that you have some sort of antipathy or problem or outlook on black people. Because, you actually get reparations, part of which is cash payment to Jewish people for what they suffered during the Holocaust. But when, even though Charlemagne was limited, in his response to say, oh, just give me cash, you get cash, and then you say no to me. I don't know how to say other than you're racist or you're just scared to death.
So what you're saying is he's not opposed to reparations in general. He's just opposed to reparations when it comes to us.
Exactly. That's exactly what it's like. Either that or you're scared of the white backlash. I mean, he's from Vermont, and the other caller pointed out that. The incarceration for black people over there is crazy, so maybe he's just seeing it through that lens. So whether you're just a dyed-in-the-wool racist or you just lack spine when it comes to dealing with white people.
Well, see, you know what it is, fam? I don't know if he's racist or not. Let me tell you what I think is going on. I think we have to deal with race all the time because of who we are. I think we are living in a country where nobody grapples with what, like, the thing is, we understand this because we've all been doing this work for a long time. We don't really realize as a Breaking Brown family how long we've been really doing data work. And what we're looking at is people, a lot of times insulated people, right? Who Bernie's not going to talk to us. He's in Vermont. He's talking to other white people about whether it's reparations for Jewish people, whatever. He's talking to all those people. I don't think we realize how many people don't put in work to try to understand our situation. And I think we have to make that, I think we have to go forward and make that our claim going forward. You have to, obviously you don't understand race in America. When I was listening to Bernie, what I understood is that this old man don't understand race in America and the lineage and what that has left us with. And he's not the only one. Like, listen, I don't think Kamala understands it. I don't think Gillibrand understands it. I don't think any of these people in their lives, in the bubble that they have lived in, understand what it means to be us. And the failure and how it's baked in, the exploitation class. I don't think most black people understand it, Reggie.
Oh yeah, I totally agree. And I would agree with you, except for that. Sanders, he marched with King and he's running around, so he has some sort of idea. But like you said before, he has to do the work, and he's shown that he doesn't want to do that. And regardless of the reason, it's a deal breaker. I mean, I've said it before. I'll say it on this show. I'm not afraid to sit this one out.
I hope that we don't get to there. I hope. I'm gonna let you finish, Reggie. But I really hope that we don't get there. I hope that we don't get there, because even if you decide that there's not a candidate for you in this race, I want you to show up to the polls, and even if you have to vote down ballot, you gotta go and you gotta show up. And what I want is for somebody, like, I don't care whether it's Marianne Williamson. I don't care whether Bernie comes around. I don't care whether Kamala, I doubt it, but I don't care whether she has a brain and she decides, well, I am in favor of this. I really want, Reggie, to get these people. I really want to get these people to a point where they realize, because politicians respond to pressure, not applause. I want them to get to a point where they realize, listen, I have to get on board with some very specific policy prescriptions for ADOS because these people are serious. I think that once people understand that we're serious, they start moving. So my hope, my prayer, my push would be to push these people to get to a place where we have something to show up for come November in terms of presidential candidates, because we're always going to vote down ballot, and I support that. I don't want us to have to be in a position to suppress our own vote, because they're suppressing our vote enough. I want us to show up and show out. But I think that means that we have to get these people to a place where they are willing to put some points on the board. And that means being louder now, and not letting these people shout us down right now. I'm going to let you have the last word, Reggie.
Oh, no doubt. Just to be clear, by sitting it out, what I mean is in terms of the party. So that what it would look like, like, even though I'm not pulling out, just staying out altogether, we can agree to disagree on that. But in terms of sitting it out for the Democratic Party, I'm fine with going to the polls and, like you said, just down ballot, just writing something in, whether it's Marianne Williamson. And also, I'm not afraid to take it all the way down ballot to where it's like, okay, if this is how the Democratic Party operates and all of you are complicit, everybody suffers. I'll go down ballot and write something in other than, like, everybody's gone. Andrea's gone, Ayanna's gone, Warren's gone, all the way down. Because if the Democrats want to behave like this and engage in the disinformation campaigns, I will punish the entire party and send that message. But
not your local candidates, though, right? You won't punish your local candidates for that, will you?
Well, I mean, some of them are going, if they continue to go along with it, and like I said before, I still don't see Ayanna on that HR 40.
Ooh, Ayanna, you better get on that HR 40. You better get on HR 40, girl. That's easy. That's an easy win. You better get on there.
Yeah, I mean, especially given her position. But yeah, like I said, I'm not afraid. You know, like I said, you know, people in their different localities gotta set their agenda. I know that for me, where I'm at, that's just where I'm at. But you know, so like I said, but like onto the Pan African, to the Pan African thing, I really feel like I totally agree with you. You know, the same circles that talk to these people also talk to us. You know, a lot of people really don't understand, you know, a lot of the conversations that I had offline and the connections that are being made. And I just really feel like, yeah, I think it's going to get to a point, you know, because like I said, I don't want to get into the specifics of some of the circles that I've been making my ways through, but I feel like a lot of the people that are talking the loudest haven't really been doing a lot of that work. There's a lot of people who are projecting themselves as movers and shakers within the reparations movement. That really, you know, ain't that. And I'm just letting y'all know, just in the coming months, it's really going to be a reckoning. So if y'all want to throw out the slander or who's sleeping with who, y'all can go ahead and do that. But
it's gonna happen.
You know, there's some people that want to build, and there's some people, you know, that are looking for clarity, that'll have those questions answered, and then there's other people that's going to get shut down. So that's just the warning. And I have a question, you know, for those that are detractors, like, are you really going to let your personal issues with Yvette and Antonio derail any kind of push towards reparations? Because when you dial down to where a lot of these people are coming from, a lot of it's personal. You know, Yvette, you know, blocked me, or we had this disagreement there, or I wanted to meet over here, or she said this here, and I'm not feeling this ideology. Like Yvette said, write the paper. We'll read it. We don't do nothing but read over here.
We'll read it and debate it. We'll read it and debate it. It's fine.
Yeah. We'll debate it. You know, I mean, and like I said, like offline, you know, we talk about it, and you know, we toss it around. You know, so some of the little articles y'all throw out, I mean, the shit is trash, but we read it. But you know what I'm saying? But I mean, if you're gonna resort to the personal slander and just make it up, then that really says a lot about you. Because if you want to move the movement forward, put out your position paper. Like, this is the time to do it. We talk about timing all the time. So if everybody feels like, well, I've been doing this for 20 years or for 30 years, all right, well, this is the year. Tell me what you've been doing for 20 years, for 30 years. Write your position paper and put it out there instead of sabotage. Because it really sounds like that COINTELPRO. Like, if you really got the juice, if you the cat in those streets.
Well, if you really got the juice, you don't have to go to Selma and like talk about this is about sex. I mean, like, you don't have to, like, if you really got the juice, you don't have to say that. If you really got the juice, you can say, like, this isn't gonna work because of X, and you can write that paper. But I think part of the problem is, Reggie, these people ain't been writing papers in a long time, and like, they haven't been doing real work in a long time. And so, like, they've been resting on the laurels of people who came before them, and kind of like in the phase of like, be very careful of people who can regurgitate other people's work, but can't tell you what work they have created with their own imaginations and creativity. Be very careful and wary of that. I am, because that means you're standing on somebody else's heel, and you need to build your own heel.
Oh yeah, like we said before, some of these folks are trying to build their bones by proxy. Those days are over. I mean, I'll say it like this: if you have not written any paper or work post 90 to account for the wave of black immigration and how that's affected African Americans in terms of employment, but more importantly, if you're going to be international with it, you need to be able to assess and make the arguments in the affirmative or the negative, how the wave of immigration, how white supremacy has used black immigrants, most unknowingly, but some knowingly, as tools of white supremacy to deflect from what they do to us here and to what they do to people abroad. So if I bring a few Nigerians in, then I don't have to deal with the fact that I'm colonizing Nigeria. Look at my Nigerian friend over here. Tucker Carlson did it the other night. Y'all niggas are slow.
Yeah.
Y'all better catch up. But if you really want to debate, I will see you in October. That's all I gotta say.
All right, Reggie. I agree. Tucker Carlson. If those who don't know, Tucker Carlson said, he was talking to this. And first of all, the guy he was talking about shouldn't have been debating what he was debating anyway. It was all set up wrong. But Tucker Carlson said, "How can you tell me?" And I think I mentioned this, but how can you tell me that blacks do worse or whatever? Well, Nigerians come here and they do better than native white people. And so you're using like this population of black immigrants to prove that racism is over without any kind of context, any kind of language, any kind of language for that. And I think what Reggie's kind of speaking to in his frustration towards the end is that, like, we're here and we're having a very nuanced conversation, and it becomes very frustrating in terms of like, you're not catching the nuance. Like, I don't think, when you say you're slow, you're not catching the nuance. This is a very nuanced thing that we're doing. This is not a very rugged kind of no, this is a very nuanced conversation that we're having. And we've been having it for a long time. And I think a lot of us are kind of weary of the kind of pedestrian conversation. A lot of other people, not us, not Breaking Brown Family, don't talk about ADOS, but other people keep dragging us back into this kind of very pedestrian conversation that doesn't understand that, like, you can be a black immigrant and be a really good ally, or you can be a black immigrant and have internalized white supremacy and allow yourself to be used as a pawn of white supremacists. And so you can be a willing pawn. You can get into a room and say, yeah, I'm not like those black people. Yeah, they just kind of lazy. We ain't lazy. We got culture. They ain't got no daddies. They just need to work harder. I ain't like them. Like, so you can have that. You can have people who are super capitalists who just come here to just like make money out of an African country. Like, you can have a lot of things that people aren't really allowing for. And so what we're trying to say is that you have to have a very nuanced conversation about, and our bond has to be, the bond that we have as group has to be based on a shared ideology. It's not based on the fact that you brown, I'm brown. It's not based on the fact that you got kinky hair, I got kinky hair. It's based on the fact that, listen, we have to come together and say, we have a shared ideology. You and I have a shared ideology. We believe in the same things. Okay, we believe in the same things, so now we're allies. And we understand what our exchange is with each other. That's what it has to be based on. It can't be based on the fact that, because, and understand, the people who are suffering from this are people in other African countries too. Because there are people who walked over them to get here. So this is not about that. This is about us understanding what this kind of exchange looks like. What does this exchange look like? Who do you need to be? What do you need to believe? What do you need to understand to be our ally? We have to start living life and determining who our allies are with a degree of specificity. I'm going probably to my last call now. I'm going to 215. 215, what's your name? Where you calling from? What's on your mind?
Well, how you doing, Yvette? My name is Ed. Well, I'm kind of choking up. I first ran into you, well, not ran into you, but learned who you were from the Boyce Watkins show, and then I got to see you come over here. I remember 2 years ago with the Rami, if I'm saying his name correct.
Army, yeah.
And I love seeing just how you evolved and came into your along with Tom as well. I just wanted to speak to the talking points that some of the detractors are using with the division. We hear about that just in terms of ADOS, just using that term alone. People are screaming division. It's the question that comes to me is why only with African Americans or ADOS? Other people, it seems like people are very sensitive when we're speaking about black immigrants. But other people, when they hold on to their own ethnicities and their own titles that relate to them and their groupings, This is something I hear. Another thing I'm hearing through listening to you is whenever you bring up CARICOM, the same people who act like they have issues with African Americans or ADOS people going for their own and moving for their own group, they don't make these same arguments about other groups or other groups in the diaspora who have claims that they're fighting for that's specific to their group. About the attacks, I'm glad you spoke to that. I seen it coming about 2 weeks ago. I hope the listeners know that they're going to use you and Tone, and that's where the attacks are going to be. It's going to be all personal attacks. None of it's going to be relate to policy, and none of the things that people who are drawn to this movement are here for and speak about. None of those things. Now people want to know who's in people's bedrooms. None of these things are going to relate to reparations and us advancing ourselves and really getting what's owed to us. None of it.
Yeah, why didn't you just ask for the conversation?
Of themselves.
Why didn't you just ask for the conversation?
They should be ashamed of themselves. But it is, I'm not going to say they're agents, I'm not going to say they're co-intel, but you don't have to be an agent or co-intel to do the work that agents and co-intel does. I'm going to leave you with that. Thank you so much. I'm so glad I got to speak.
No, I appreciate it. I appreciate you calling in. Yeah, you don't have to be, like, okay. I don't go around calling people agents. I don't know. How do I know what the feds do? I don't know. Like, I'm just telling you what it is. I'm just telling you that, like, this is garbage. Since that call was short, I'll go to one more call. Going to 757. 757, what's going on?
Yvette.
Otis, what's the business?
Hello, it's an excellent show. Hello to the Breaking Brown family. Look, I'm going to try to make this quick because I'm all janitor duty. When you close out this show, somebody got to clean it up, get ready for the next one. So I'm on duty. Look, they left it. I appreciate it, though, because it makes it easy on me. I might get out here before midnight. Look here. I always talk about you get charms from some unlikely sources. And you say a phrase all the time. You tell people about their fruit. Garrity talks about not trying to figure out somebody's intent. I suffered through a 2-hour presentation on something that I used to enjoy because I'm old. I tell you, I'm 66. It's the 54th celebration of Bloody Sunday. It's the first weekend in March, and it's been going on, like I say, 54 years. We had a lot of interesting things tied into stuff that you covered over the last 3 years. You had your girl from the Hookworms that actually gave the top honor to HRC, Hillary Rodham Clinton.
Who is my Hookworm girl? Oh, did you didn't say her name? Shit, my girl from the Hookworms.
Terry Sewell, you know. That's pretty. That lady down in Hookwormville that we stayed on so much till she finally got some kind of set aside for the federal government for $12 million. But they got a tendency to do things. We don't like to close things out. You dig a little deeper and you read across some of the local newspapers and you find out the federal government has said yes on the $12 million, I believe, set aside for these people. But there's a caveat. The local government and the state has to come up with their share for this thing to go through. So the job ain't been done.
Okay.
Put it plainly. So that's down here close. You know, Latin County's close to Selma. But I would tell you the interesting thing about that, she talked about, she really put, she laid on, you talk about laying on some bacon fat. She had to get all up with Hillary and tell her how her mama wasn't feeling good, but she said, no, but I got to go meet Hillary. Oh, she done for our people. Let me tell you something. Academics, historians, politicians is a narrative. It's all right for you to follow that narrative, but when you've done what you and Tone have done, and I tell you, I keep telling people, I don't know you two, but if I could have wished for any two people in my life at this stage that I can listen to, bring it real, and verify with facts, and be sincere and honest about it, I could not have created two better individuals. I put that out there, and I want people to understand it. But it's still our ability to deconstruct some things. There was two panels, about 20 people, all distinguished black people. And they brought people from throughout the diaspora. There were people from Cobra and every kind of alphabet soup, from the black journalists to the black lawyers to the local politicians to the prison reform guy who helped get Florida's thing going. All of these people were there. All the people that have been instrumental in moving the dialogue in the black culture in America.
Mm-hmm.
And all of those people talked around some people that they could not name.
Mm.
The Reagan Brown family knows who those people are. And there's something interesting when you have the greatest minds, the talented tenth in every sector of black America that can't get along, but they can come together on something that's supposed to be universal, Bloody Sunday, and not talk about the people who have elevated the questions of reparations.
Mm.
That ought to tell you something about the quality of these representatives. And I'm going to tell you, I have no problem following the opposition. I'm going to say something. If people can, I know it's a Roland Martin production, about 2 hours long. I tell you, if you do like you did in high school, and you listen to that in 15-minute segments, one of the best things you can do to make this family go from 58,000 to over 100,000 is each 15 minutes just take you a legal pad and jot down ideas that you hear from each of those speakers. You will hear them say some the facsimile of everything that you and Tone have talked here.
Mm.
But you got to start keeping an eye on the picture too. Each of them ends with some kind of thing talking about, but we need money. And these are the elite. These are the people that have been reaping the benefits of our supposed success in this country. From Jesse Jackson right on down to the current leader of Cobra. And all in between, 20 people. Even Tamika Mallory was there. If you listen to Tamika Mallory, you're really going to get some jewels that will be interesting to you going forth in the future. Because they didn't want to have any more committee meetings and stuff. They wanted to go back to when I was running onto the campus with my friends over at Hampton Institute, when you celebrate some kind of victory and what you do, instead of going to sleep like you should so you can get up and go to work, they want to spend late night talking about what do we do going forward. They want to meet in Roland's room and chit-chat about what our plans are for the future. Let me tell you this. Everybody, including Reverend Barber back in 2013 started the moral majority.
Uh-huh.
He was going around this country telling us that we have to do what Martin Luther King and Fred Hampton wanted to do, get poor whites, black, and Hispanics together. He's been doing this since 2013. That's 5 years, and this would be the 6th year that Bloody Sunday he's been at. And I'm going to tell you who he had at the table. There was no Yvette. There was no Tone. There were 2 Hispanic representatives, one from DACA and another one for immigrants, which is 2 separate entities of the Hispanic thing. They spoke eloquently about the need for us to come together. So now I'm telling you that's 2 legs of the 3 that he said he needs, and how productive he's been for 6 years. I ain't seen nobody poor white there, so that means there's 2 camps that got excluded. I don't know if it's because he doesn't have the poor whites that he could have brought there, other than the pastors who have been going around with him for the last 6 years and telling us that it's about kumbaya. Everybody there, when the 2 Hispanic people talk, they don't talk about their knowledge of black history and what it is we have in common to come together and fight this country. They talk about the need for us to just be together fighting this beast. This beast has been attacking us long before Hispanics were a problem, and long before the talented 10th got lost into telling us that because they can walk around in suits and pretend to be rich and have credit card debt that they don't tell us about, that this country is doing us good. I'm going to put something else out to you, too. People are selective about history. Reverend Barber talked about, above all people, Frederick Douglass. And he talked about a speech from Frederick Douglass in 1957 where he talked about the whites and all these coming together for abolition. What he didn't tell you is, during that time period leading up to Lincoln's freeing the slaves, he let Frederick Douglass in the White House, and white folks raised so much hell. So the next several times he met Frederick Douglass, he had to do it in secret, and he couldn't do it in the White House. And then after he hoodwinked Douglass and signed the Emancipation Proclamation, Douglass actually came out and said he thought that Lincoln was a man of principle. But the interesting thing was, after that Emancipation Proclamation in 1865, in 1888, 23 years later, after hearing complaints, back then it wasn't no electronics. Everything was a mail and, snail mail, and you're hearing people moving around. He heard so many complaints about the conditions in the South, he took a trip down there. Mm-hmm. And you know what that led to? His most pivotal speech ever. I call this a stupendous fraud. Before he closed his eyes, he went down and went through, it broke his heart. He went through and talked about the position of the Negro or African in America was worse than it was for chattel slavery, because in chattel slavery, at least someone cared about their welfare. Now they're just out here with what? Just what you and Tony talked about. In America, with no ability to be an American, and we are the most American as anybody that has set their damn foot on this continent. If you listen to that 2 hours with Roland Martin, you're going to learn a lot about our people. You're going to be able to discern who's telling the truth and who isn't. And you're going to understand this. Reparations really don't need them. They need reparations because they're lying to themselves and deceiving. And then you're going to love it. It looked like somebody at the picnic because they're the elite, but they actually had to pass the hat and had people donate as much money as they could so they could finish paying for the bill at the place they were at. And to be honest with you, it wasn't really no top-notch place because you look around, it was one of them little side conference rooms, and they are the elite. Keep on doing what you're doing, lady. This family, I've watched them learn to go after people with 1 or 2 sentences, cleaning up on Facebook, cleaning up on Twitter, and some of them are doing so good, I'm going to have to get my presence a little bit better on Instagram, but that's more of a... So, but I'm going to tell you now, I'm saying this to say, these people, like the gentleman said earlier, just before, they're coming after, now since they can't stop the substance, they're coming at the people who have been preaching and sharing this information. But what they don't understand, but tell them, say, y'all coming, y'all ain't coming alone. So anything they throw your way, you got foot soldiers, you got people that are doing the job. They gonna find out they're messing with the immovable force. This is an uprising. This will probably be the most signature movement in this country since Martin Luther King's assassination. I can tell you that. I've seen it. I started at 14, and I'm telling you, 52 years later, seeing people come together across all ages, all of the things that have divided us. I've had people inbox me on something that they see me talk about, and I don't try to bring it up too much. You have people in this group that have every kind of sexual persuasion from 18 to my age at 65. See, I just had somebody sound off on me. They're 3 years older than I am, and they've been listening to you for 2 years. That's what they don't have in any other movement. This demographic is rooted in the justice claim that is truth, and we are winning the battle. Trust me, we are. We got y'all back. You keep it steady. And guess what? I sure hope that the first time y'all get to talk to Joy Reid, you tell her, I say, I want to be a wig snatcher because I got a little petty in me, too. Be strong, my lady. Be strong. Look, just tone a hug when you see it.
I will. He's standoffish sometimes, but I will. All right, Otis, I appreciate you. Thank you for calling in. Otis is always bringing it. Otis is the best researcher I have ever known. I don't know nobody to research. I don't think I ever will. It is what it is. I'm gonna have to go check out that video he's referring to see who was at Barbara's table and who was speaking and what room they was in. Like, now I gotta go research the whole thing. I skittered through it, but now I gotta go back and watch with a very concise eye, with the lens for what he was just talking about. That is Otis. That is what we're doing. And I appreciate you, Otis. I appreciate everybody out there who is doing work and sending messages to me that everybody don't know about. And who is in rooms and talking and having conversations that people don't know about. I appreciate all of that, family. We are at the 2 minute. Woo, we went over today. 2 minute 24. 2 hours 24 minutes. We go to bed, fam. You got to get up in the morning. Listen, hit that like button before you go to bed. You can go to donatebrown.com, patreon.com/ycarnell. Please, like I said, hit that like button. Please hit that bell if you have not. Please subscribe if you have not. I think we're headed towards 60,000. So please do that. Please do not forget we are doing book club on March the 21st. So it's coming up. We're in March now, fam. My birthday month. So please take care of that, fam. And we will see you. We will have another conversation next show. Get ready for the smear campaigns. Get ready for everything, because everything coming. Everybody's coming, but we ain't scared. We ain't never been scared. And we got to do what we got to do, fam. And I appreciate all of you and everything that you have done. I have seen you. Maybe I have not been able to respond to your message. I see your messages, your DMs, and Twitter. I can't respond to everything, but I see everything, and I open everything, and I see it. So I appreciate it. Everything that I know is because you decided to send it to me. So, fam, please get some rest. Finish off your libations, and we will talk here again soon.